Every morning, the staff at an aquarium woke up with the same question. Where are the fish going? Fish were disappearing from the tank. Nobody saw it happen. There was no camera. They thought it might be a thief or broken equipment. This went on for weeks. Finally, one staff member decided to spend the night inside the aquarium. He waited in the dark, and what he saw was this. An octopus opened the lid of its own tank. It moved into the tank next to it. It caught a fish. It ate it. Then it returned to its own tank. It closed the lid, and in the morning, it was sitting there, as if nothing had happened. This was not an accident. This was a plan, and this octopus had done it again and again. So I want to ask you something. How intelligent does an animal have to be to do that? And more importantly, have you ever thought about how little we actually know about a creature that can do this? What you are about to learn in this video will go far beyond everything you have heard about octopuses, because the truth feels like fiction. The octopus has a brain in its head, right in the center. But that is only the beginning of the story, because each of the octopus's 8 arms also contains separate nerve centers. These nerve centers are so large and so complex that scientists call them mini-brains. So the octopus has a total of 9 brain centers, 1 in its head and 1 in each arm. And here is the truly shocking part. These arms can move independently from the central brain in the head. Imagine this. You raise your hand, but your brain is not the one making that decision. Your hand decides on its own. That does not make sense for us because we do not work that way. But the octopus works exactly like that. In one experiment, a researcher separated an octopus arm from the body. That arm continued moving for more than an hour. It did not just twitch. When it touched something that counted as food, the arm made a movement toward the mouth. There was no brain, but there was behavior. Why did evolution develop this? Because of speed. You would have to ask a large brain. The brain would make a decision. The message would travel through the nervous system. Then the arm would move. During that process, dozens of milliseconds pass. For an octopus, that time can be the difference between life and death. The ability of the arms to move on their own gives the octopus real-time reaction power. Scientists explain it this way. The large brain in the head makes general decisions. Go right, escape, hunt. But each arm decides on its own how that will be done. The arm feels the ground. It detects the obstacle. It measures the distance. And it moves without asking the head. It is like an army commander saying, "Kill the enemy," but the soldier deciding exactly how to do it. The octopus has 3 hearts. 2 of them work for the gills. These organs filter water and take in oxygen. The 3rd heart sends oxygenated blood to the rest of the body. So why 3 hearts? Because octopus blood works very differently from our blood. Human blood is red. The iron inside it holds and carries oxygen. Octopus blood is bluish. It contains copper, and copper holds oxygen much more weakly than iron. That is why the octopus's blood has to be pumped much faster to carry the same amount of oxygen. The result is 3 hearts. This system works well in cold water, and most of the environments where octopuses live are already cold. But this system has a cost. When an octopus swims quickly, the 3rd heart almost stops. In other words, the faster an octopus swims, the less blood goes to its body, and the faster it gets tired. That is why octopuses do not travel long distances by swimming. They travel by walking across the seafloor. They can sprint, but they are not marathon runners. Evolution did not optimize the octopus for speed. It optimized it for intelligence. Instead of running for a long time, think quickly, make fast decisions, move cleverly. That is the octopus's survival strategy. Now I'm going to tell you something, and when you hear it, you will probably pause. Octopuses cannot see color. Yes, stop for a second. The octopus, the animal that can perfectly blend into its surroundings in seconds, that can change its skin like rock, algae, or sand, one of nature's greatest camouflage artists, cannot see color. It has eyes, good eyes, but the structures responsible for color perception are missing. The octopus sees the world in black and white. So how is this possible? If it cannot see color, how does it imitate color so perfectly? In 2015, a study found something interesting. Octopus skin contains light-sensitive proteins. Normally, these proteins are found only in the eye, but in the octopus, they are spread throughout the skin. The skin itself may be sensing light. So the octopus may be seeing not only with its eyes, but with its entire skin. Its whole body works like a sensor. This hypothesis is not fully proven yet. It is still debated. But we know this for certain. Even though the octopus is colorblind, it performs perfect color imitation, and scientists still have not fully solved how it does this. This is one of the most striking examples of how things that look impossible can exist in evolution. The skin of an octopus is one of the most complex biological surfaces in the world. On the outside, there are color cells, tiny sacs filled with colored pigments. They are connected to muscles. By controlling a group of muscles, the octopus expands and contracts these sacs. When they expand, the color appears. When they contract, it disappears. The octopus has more than 200,000 of these cells in its arms alone. Under these cells, there is another layer that reflects light, creating metallic and pearly appearances. The upper cells change the color. This layer adjusts how that color shines, how it glows, how it reflects light. And at the deepest layer, there are tiny muscle groups that change the physical texture of the skin. They can make the surface rough or smooth. To imitate rock texture, the skin rises. To imitate flat sand, the skin becomes smooth. To imitate coral, the skin creates tiny millimeter scale bumps. Not only color, texture. Not only light, surface. All of it works at the same time. DARPA, America's military research agency, has been trying to imitate this system for years. They want to create flexible artificial surfaces that can change color and adjust texture. Billions of dollars have been spent. The result? They still have not reached the level of the octopus. The octopus is a target that military technology researchers are chasing, and that target has already been there for 500 million years. The human eye has a flaw. The optic nerve connects to the retina, the layer that senses light, from the wrong side. And by the wrong side, I mean not from the direction where the light enters, but from the opposite side. Because of this, there is a hole at the point where the nerve passes through, and no image forms there. This is called the blind spot. The octopus eye does not have this mistake. The nerves are connected from the correct side. There is no blind spot. And there is one more thing. The octopus pupil is rectangular or shaped like a W. It looks strange, but it is extremely smart. At the surface of the sea, there can be sunlight. At the bottom, there can be dark regions. A normal round pupil cannot see both of these clearly at the same time. It has to choose one or the other. But the W-shaped pupil can receive a clear image from both regions at the same time. No human-made camera lens has solved such a wide range of vision with such a simple change in shape. Evolution sometimes goes beyond us. The octopus eye is one of the clearest proofs of that. When an octopus arm repeats the same movement again and again, it remembers that movement. You can compare this to muscle memory in humans. After you learn to ride a bicycle, your body remembers how to balance even years later. The brain does not have to calculate it from the beginning every time. Something similar happens in the octopus arm, but at a much more advanced level. An arm that performs a certain movement many times makes that movement automatic. An arm that has learned to open a jar can perform that movement the next time, even without the central brain fully stepping in. What does this mean? It means that octopus learning does not happen only in the head. Learning is also stored along the arm. Memory is distributed across different points of the body. In practice, this matters because scientists are studying this system to search for new ways to restore body control in people who have suffered paralysis. The octopus arm has become a model for medical research. After learning all of this, we have to face one fact. The octopus lives at most 5 years. In most species, 2 or 3 years. And it spends most of this short life alone. No parents, no teacher, no chance to learn from another octopus. If we compare it, chimpanzees live for decades and learn many things from each other. Elephants pass knowledge from generation to generation. Whales learn migration routes from social groups. All of them live long lives. All of them grow up inside communities. The octopus starts from zero. Every single one of them. Every single time. Alone. And still, it performs all these escapes, sets all these traps, develops all these complex behaviors. Biologist Peter Godfrey Smith says this: octopuses reach an intelligence comparable to animals that live for decades in social environments. Inside a life that is this short and this lonely. Think about how incredible that is. Keep this question in your mind. If octopuses lived not 5 years, but 50, and if they learned from each other, what would happen? In the next part, I will explain what this intelligence looks like in practice. Escape plans, tool use, acting, manipulation, and yes, how an octopus can behave like both a male and a female in order to mate. In 2016, at a research station, scientists were studying octopus behavior when something unexpected happened. An octopus in a tank was watching a staff member who cleaned the aquarium every day. Days passed. One day, when that staff member approached the tank, the octopus shot water at him. It seemed like a joke. Then it did it again, and again, every day. But it did not shoot water at another staff member, only at that one person. The researchers decided this was not a coincidence and tested it. They changed the staff member and sent someone else. The octopus did not shoot water at the new person. The original staff member came back, and the water shooting started again. The octopus recognized that human, and for some reason, it did not like him. What is this? This is an animal recognizing an individual human and developing a specific reaction toward that person. Would a fish do this? Would an insect? No. Today, we are going to talk about exactly this. How does the octopus use this intelligence in real life? Escapes, traps, acting, even the idea of ownership. Get ready, because these are real stories. At the National Aquarium of New Zealand, there was an octopus named Inky, a small, curious Pacific octopus. One night, the keepers forgot to close the lid of the tank completely. When they came in the morning, Inky was gone, but there were strange marks on the floor. It was clear that the octopus had climbed out and left a wet trail behind. That trail went all the way to a small hole in the wall. That hole was connected to a water drainage line that opened into the sea. Inky had found that line and reached the ocean forever. Think about this. The octopus followed a path it had never seen before in an unfamiliar environment. The escape route was not random. It was the smell of salt water, not with its nose, but through receptors in its skin. It sensed the salt water and moved toward it. It found the shortest route to the sea using a map of smell. This is not just escaping. This is mapping an environment to reach a destination. In laboratory experiments, octopuses were given 3-stage puzzles: food inside a closed box, a weight on top of the box, a lock on top of the weight. More than 80% of the octopuses solved the puzzle. But the more interesting part was this. When they were given the same puzzle a second time, the octopuses solved it 3 times faster. They remembered. They remembered what worked, and the next time, they started from there. Learning from experience, updating strategy. This is a kind of learning we see in children. In 2009, a small bomb went off in the scientific world. In Indonesia, researchers saw octopuses collecting and carrying coconut shells. Not just carrying them, they carried those shells to a place where they needed shelter and used them there as protection. In other words, the octopus was thinking, "This shell will be useful later. I should carry it now." This is the basic definition of tool use. You do not use an object at that exact moment, but you carry it because it will be useful in the future. Until then, this had mostly been seen in chimpanzees, elephants, and some bird species. What they had in common was this: vertebrates, large brains, long lives, social living. But the octopus is a short-lived, solitary, invertebrate animal, and it uses tools. This carrying behavior has a cost. While carrying a shell, the octopus moves much more slowly and cannot camouflage properly, so it becomes more vulnerable. There is only one reason that cost is worth paying. It knows that it will use that shell in the future. It is planning ahead. Pacific octopuses do something else too. They close the entrances of their dens with stones, not just hiding, but strengthening the place where they hide. They place several stones in a certain arrangement and close the entrance. While doing this, they decide which stone should go where. Construction, planning, thinking about the future. Octopuses do not just catch their prey, they manipulate it. Some octopuses do this. They hide at the bottom of a rock. Then they throw 1 or 2 arms outside, moving them like a small sea creature. This movement attracts curious small fish. When the fish comes closer, the octopus launches the real attack. It placed bait. It set a trap. It waited. When hunting crabs, it goes even further. Crabs have a defense mechanism. When they sense danger, they extend their claws forward and retreat backward. An experienced octopus learns this pattern. It approaches from behind the crab, from exactly the angle where the claws cannot reach. The crab extends its claws, but there is nothing in front of it. The octopus has already reached the back. It did not learn this from another octopus. It learned it from attempts, failed attacks, and defeats. And the next time, it did not make the same mistake. Some octopuses use chemical warfare. They spray their ink over slow-moving but toxic prey. The ink temporarily suppresses the prey's sensory system. Then they attack. A different tactic for every prey species. The same octopus uses different strategies against different prey. There is a species of octopus living in the shallow waters of Indonesia. When scientists first saw it, they were surprised, and then they struggled to believe it. This octopus imitates other animals, not only color and texture, but the exact movement, body shape, and behavior of that animal. It imitates a lionfish. It spreads its arms in a certain way and swims so convincingly that an animal watching from a distance truly thinks it has seen a venomous lionfish and escapes. Then the octopus acts like bait and attracts other small fish and catches them. It is doing two things at the same time. It scares away larger predators and it attracts smaller prey. It imitates a sea snake. It stretches two arms backward and moves them in waves, exactly like a sea snake. It lies flat on the ground and moves like a flatfish. It copies the movement of a venomous sea star. So far, 15 different animal imitations have been documented in this species. But the truly interesting part is this. This octopus knows which imitation to use where. It chooses the most effective imitation against the predators in that area. Looking like a sea snake does not work against a lionfish. The octopus knows this. It changes strategy according to the region. This is not memorized imitation. This is calculating which scene will work. At the Seattle Aquarium, researchers tested 44 octopuses through a series of experiments. How do they approach a new object? How do they react to an unfamiliar human? How do they move in an open area? The results were consistent. Every octopus behaved differently. Some wanted to examine everything. They approached boldly and touched things. Some were hesitant. They waited in the corner and watched from a distance. Some were very active. Some were calm. And these differences were consistent. The curious one stayed curious. The shy one stayed shy. Not random, stable differences. Personality. Researchers began giving names to the octopuses they worked with. This was not a cultural habit. It was a practical necessity. Each one really behaved differently, and they needed names to tell them apart. Aggressive, curious, shy, playful. These are words that appear in scientific papers. For an octopus, in 2021, an official scientific report prepared in the United Kingdom said this: there is enough evidence that octopuses, crabs, and lobsters may be able to feel pain. This matters because, based on this report, the United Kingdom banned throwing octopuses and crabs alive into boiling water. A legal change. A policy born from science. The pain response of an octopus is very different from a simple withdrawal reflex. An injured arm leads to different protective behaviors for days. It responds to painkillers. It stops using the injured arm and learns to use its healthy arms instead. This means pain changes behavior, and that is a very important distinction. A simple reflex is this: you touch heat, you pull away, it is over. Pain is this: you touch heat, you feel pain. The next day you stay away from that area, you change your strategy. The octopus does the second one. With this knowledge, we have to rethink how an octopus should be treated in an aquarium or in a kitchen. This is not a feeling. It is a scientific necessity. In the next part, we enter the subjects people talk about the least. Octopus gardens, dreaming octopuses, their unique genomes, and one of the most extraordinary acts of maternal sacrifice in history. And the biggest question: How much does an octopus really understand? In 2021, in southern Australia, a research team came across a scene underwater that they did not expect. Hundreds of octopuses, together, in an area of 15 meters. Stones had been arranged, shell piles had been formed. Some structures showed signs that more than one octopus had worked on them. Individuals were watching each other, entering each other's space, fighting, sometimes staying together. The researchers called it Octlantis, the city of octopuses. The problem is this. For years, science said octopuses were solitary animals, creatures that avoid each other, live alone, and are not social. That was what the textbooks said. Octlantis swallowed that idea whole. If octopuses are not social, what is this? If they do not live together, why are they building together? And if we did not see this until 2021, how much more have we missed? 12 years before Octlantis, in 2009, another area had been found in Jervis Bay, Australia, Octopuses. There, about 15 octopuses had settled around a central object. Stones had been piled in a systematic way. Each individual had a territory, and the others respected that territory, most of the time. From time to time, conflicts happened, but then the settlement order was re-established. Octlantis was 3 times larger, and more importantly, there was no central object there. Octopolis had formed around the remains of a sea object. Maybe that was coincidence, but Octlantis had formed on an empty ground through the octopus's own choices. Researchers observed it for months. What they saw was this. Some individuals controlled larger areas. An octopus that was pushed away returned again. Certain individuals showed signs that they recognized each other. One octopus stole material from another, but sometimes there was no reaction. All of this points to a social organization. Not perfect, not orderly, but real. When people hear Octopus Garden, they think of the Beatles song. In reality, this is a discovery that overturned our scientific understanding. Do octopuses speak to each other? There is no certain answer yet. But what we have seen is extremely interesting. In 2022, researchers from the Smithsonian Institution recorded something very strange during conflicts among Australian octopuses. When one octopus wanted to push another away, a dark warning pattern appeared on one half of its body. That was the side facing the rival. But on the other half of its body, the side facing other individuals nearby, there was a different pattern. 2 different messages at the same time, in 2 different directions, for 2 different targets. Scientists call this dual-channel communication. As humans, we do this in speech. We can say one thing with our facial expression and another thing with our words. But doing this with the left and right halves of the skin at the same time toward different individuals, that is something very different. In addition to this, chemical signals are probably involved as well. Substances spreading through the water affect the behavior of other octopuses. Visual and chemical, both together. Do octopuses speak to each other? We have not fully understood it yet, but they are communicating something, that is certain. In 2021, a research video was published and millions of people watched it. Why? Because while an octopus was sleeping, its skin kept changing color. Fast, dramatic, short waves, as if it was acting something out. The octopus is sleeping, and its color is changing. What does this mean? In mammals, there is a sleep stage called REM sleep. During this stage, the brain is very active, but the body is still. We dream during this stage. In this stage, the information we learned also becomes permanent. The brain, in a way, organizes the experiences of the day. The color bursts observed in the octopus resemble REM sleep. The brain is very active. The skin is signaling. The muscles twitch slightly, as if it is reliving something while asleep. What does an octopus dream about? We do not know. Hunting? Escaping? Color games? Right now we have no tool that can let us learn this, but there are signs that it dreams, and this alone is revolutionary. The ability to dream may not belong only to mammals or humans. The octopus may have developed it completely independently from us. So dreaming may be a universal feature of intelligence, not only our feature. The ancestors of octopuses lived 500 million years ago. That was long before dinosaurs, before vertebrates moved onto land, before the first fish had even fully formed. The octopus and the human come from a common ancestor, but that common ancestor lived 500 million years ago and was probably an extremely simple creature. It likely did not even have a special nervous system. From that point onward, two separate paths developed. On one path, vertebrates developed. Fish, land animals, mammals, primates, humans, large brains, central nervous systems, social learning. On the other path, cephalopods developed. Cuttlefish, squid, and octopuses, distributed nervous systems, short lives, solitary living, but still complex intelligence. Two completely different paths, two completely different biologies, and both reach intelligence. This says something very important. Intelligence is not a special accident that develops on only one path. Under enough pressure, it can develop independently in different living beings. When evolution is forced to invent intelligence, it invents it. This idea also interests astrobiologists. When searching for life on other planets, they are no longer looking only for human-like intelligence. The octopus model shows that intelligence can appear in a completely different biological structure. In 2015, scientists examined the entire DNA of the octopus. What they found shocked them. A human contains about 33,000 genes. The octopus also has about 33,000, almost the same number. This alone was unexpected, but the truly surprising part was this. A large portion of octopus genes do not resemble the genes of any other living thing on Earth. They code for protein structures that had never been seen before. One researcher from the team said this: "It felt like looking at DNA from another planet. Especially the genes related to the nervous system had grown and diversified to an unexpected degree. This explains, at the genetic level, why the octopus has such a complex nervous system. There is one more thing, and it is truly interesting. The octopus's DNA does not change. Only the message produced from the DNA changes. The nervous system of an octopus working in cold water in winter is different from one working in warm water in summer. But this change happens without touching the DNA. Only the copy made from the DNA is edited. In most living beings, including humans, this rate is below 1%. In the octopus, it is 60%. This makes the octopus's capacity to adapt to its environment extraordinary. Without changing its genome, only by changing the mechanism that reads it, it adapts to different environments. Real-time adaptation. This part may be emotional, but this is the truth. After the female octopus lays her eggs, she does not leave them. She cleans them. She ventilates them for oxygen. She protects them. The length of this period changes depending on the species, but in the giant Pacific octopus, it can last up to 6 months. She watches over 40,000 to 100,000 eggs for 6 months. During this time, she does not eat at all. She grows weaker and weaker. Her skin wrinkles. Her color fades. Even if her arm is broken, she does not leave the den. When the eggs hatch, when the young spread into the water column, the mother dies. Not immediately, but soon after. She is completely exhausted. Where does this sacrifice come from? There is an evolutionary calculation here. The young begin life very small. If they enter food competition with the mother in the same area, the survival chances of both the mother and the young decrease. The mother leaving gives her young more resources. Evolution selected this. The mother is not doing the calculation and choosing to leave, but evolution selected this behavior because it works. The male dies much earlier, within weeks after mating. In some species, the female eats the male during mating. This sounds dramatic, but it is functional. The male becomes an energy source for the eggs he fertilized. Life feeds on life. This question is easy to ask, but very hard to answer. An octopus escapes from a maze. It makes an escape plan. It uses tools. It imitates other animals. It may dream. It has an individual personality. It feels pain. Do all of these count as thinking? Scientists describe something called primary consciousness, representing itself and its environment, and understanding the relationship between them. To say, I exist, that thing exists, and my relationship with that thing is like this. There are signs of this in the octopus. It maps the environment. It senses itself in space. It plans for the future. But self-awareness, we do not know that. It is much harder to measure. Biologist Christoph Koch says this: consciousness is not an on and off thing. It is a spectrum. And the octopus is much further along that spectrum than we thought. What we know for certain is this: it is no longer enough to explain octopus behavior as instinct or reflex. Because it learns, it plans, it remembers, it adapts. These are not instincts. These are changes that come from experience. Let us ask this question one last time. Why the octopus? For medicine. The octopus's distributed nervous system shows new ways to understand how nerve damage in the body may be compensated for. It is used as a reference in research on how remaining nerves can be strengthened in people who have suffered paralysis. The mechanism that allows adaptation without changing DNA opens new research paths in many neurological diseases, especially Alzheimer's. For technology, its camouflage system is being studied in dozens of fields, from military technology to soft robotics. Billions of dollars are being spent to create flexible materials that can change color and adjust texture. And still, the level of the octopus has not been reached. For space. When astrobiologists ask what intelligence on another planet might look like, they now look at the octopus. Intelligence does not have to look human. It can exist in a completely different biology, inside a completely different structure. For ethics, Norway, Australia, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom have placed octopuses under legal protection, because science says these animals have an inner world very different from what we once thought. Across 3 parts, we traveled with the octopus. We saw its 9 brains, its 3 hearts, its colorblind eyes, and its skin that senses color. We met its escape plans, its tool use, its hunting tactics, and the actor that imitates 15 different animals. We found it in Octlantis, building a city. We watched it as it may have dreamed in its sleep. We looked at its genome, and it seemed as if it had come from another planet. We learned that its mother waits over her eggs for 6 months without eating, and then dies. And there are still questions we cannot answer. What does it feel? Does it really understand? What does it dream about? Maybe the truly surprising thing is this. We have talked this much about the octopus. We have found this much. And still, we cannot answer the most basic questions. Under the sea, a 500 million-year-old intelligence continues today, with 8 arms and 9 brains. It hides a shell. It plans an escape route. Maybe it is learning something, and we still do not fully understand it.